The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
Hello, it is magic time. Welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show, episode 22. I'm getting on there.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy. I'm one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Here on a beautiful spring day in Bellingham, Washington.
It is lovely outside right now.
The temperature is expected to top out at 68 degrees. Oh. How are you coping with the amazing heat wave?
Not that well, actually. Earlier I was feeling uncomfortable, and I had to put the fan on in the living room, and I laid under it to try to, relieve the heat.
You're one of those people who just sweats constantly, too, right?
Yes, I run hot, as they say.
Do you ever have you ever taken your temperature to see if your internal body temperature is higher than the average person?
I think it's normal. I think I'm a 98.6. I don't know. But I think the fact that I'm releasing all this heat all the time is what keeps me at 98.6. Because if I wasn't sweating all the time, I would be 102 all the time.
Well, because my normal temperature is 99.
Oh, really?
All the time, yeah. And I don't feel overheated most of the time, but if I ever sleeping with somebody, they always comment on the fact that it's I'm a furnace just pumping heat out into the environment.
Yes, I'm one of those people as well that just radiates heat and just always want to throw blankets off and open windows and
it's our Northern European heritage.
I guess look for
survival
a
mechanism.
little bit of a breeze or some cool, refreshing air, and that makes me feel better than the oppressive 65 that we're suffering in right now.
Well, I was talking about this before, how I always keep my windows open all year long, even in the middle of winter. And since I live in an apartment that has radiators and a boiler, it doesn't have a thermostat that I have any control over.
Yeah.
So there'll be times when it's 22 degrees outside and the heat isn't on in the apartment. Mm-hmm. And I'll still have my windows open and I'll just be sleeping. Because once you're in the covers, you get a little warm and toasty.
It has to be really cold for me to not be able to get warm under covers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your head is cold, but that's fine. But there's this constant thing with women. If you ever have a girl over, they're always freezing constantly.
Yeah. And they're always just striving to close every window and turn up the heat and throw more blankets on. And you're like, I can't do this. I'm sweating. I'm getting soaking wet in here.
I can't take sleeping in a stuffy room with no fresh air and without you want the cool breeze over your face, because that makes you, in contrast, it's like being in a hot tub in the snow, So you have your arm outside the hot tub in a snowdrift.
Yes.
And it's now that feels good.
The heat only feels good if you have coldness around you in some way to relieve it. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Well, now that we've put that to bed, we need to get on with the show. We have lots to talk about tonight. When do people listen to this? I'm assuming they listen to it during the day, because it comes out Thursday morning.
I think we'll listen to it at work. I think a lot of people do that. Some people listen to podcasts, so it's probably during the middle of the day.
Somebody was complaining to me, actually, that the iTunes feed didn't pick up the podcast in time. We don't know. We post the episodes on our website usually it's around 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday morning, and I have no control over when iTunes decides to look at our feed to see if we have new episodes. So if you guys are subscribed to our RSS feed through iTunes, you will automatically update if you open iTunes. But if you're not subscribed, the episode won't show up on iTunes until they decide to look for the episode.
But if you're subscribed, you can get it at 7 in the morning?
Yeah. It'll show up. I don't think it'll have the artwork and stuff like that, because it'll just go through our feed.
Oh.
I don't know. It's all this weird technical shit. Because if I post our episode, then I open up iTunes, it'll automatically download into because I'm subscribed to our show.
Oh.
Really? I'm a regular listener.
Yeah.
And so if any of you are having trouble, you can't find one of our shows on iTunes, even though it should have posted, subscribe, and then you should get the feed updated. Just a little technical tip there for you.
Yeah, everyone will be fine now.
Well, I have something to bring up, which has been annoying me lately. I drink a lot of water. I also urinate a lot.
You do urinate a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's okay. I think it's a healthy thing, but other people were telling me that might mean I have diabetes or something.
Yeah, that is. It is a sign of diabetes. If you're very thirsty as well.
Yeah, I don't get very thirsty.
I don't get thirsty either.
Okay. But the problem I'm having is, even if it's in the middle of the day, let's say I've worked all day, I'm a little tired, I decide I'm going to take a little nap.
Yeah.
I've been drinking water all day.
Yeah.
Just a normal amount, probably even less than you're supposed to drink because nobody actually drinks the gallons that you're supposed to drink every day.
Yeah.
But I go take a little nap. At the end of an hour, I wake up and I feel like a fucking mummy that has been completely dehydrated. Like,
Really?
every amount of moisture in my body has been sucked away into my bladder. Even if I've only slept for about 20 minutes, when I wake up, I will have to go to the bathroom so badly that it feels like I'm going to die, like my kidneys are going to explode. And, like, I wear contacts, my eyes are completely dry, I can barely move my eyes around in the eye sockets, it's like they're rubbing against sandpaper.
Yeah.
I'm all shriveled and weird. I look in the mirror and my face is all lined like I've been out in the desert for 3 hours. It's really fucking weird. So it's like, basically, I go to sleep and my body automatically sucks every bit of moisture out of the extremities, puts it in the bladder. I go to the bathroom and I get a cup of water and drink it, and I can actually, it's like, remember those little pills that were like foam dinosaurs?
Oh, that turns into like animals. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's what I feel like. I can feel suddenly this water spreading through my body, and literally I could look in the mirror and see my face become less drawn.
No,
and my eyes, because it's
this
true.
is completely insane.
It's totally
no. There's
true.
no way this is happening. If this is happening,
weird.
you have a serious medical condition.
I don't know. Maybe I do.
Because if you're like getting dehydrated and shriveling,
Yeah.
and then drinking water and seeing yourself unshrivel like that, I've never heard of this happening.
I don't know. I haven't tried to look it up and see if there's any specific medical condition about this, but it's the same kind of thing where I could drink 8 gallons of water right before I go to bed at night.
Yeah.
I will sleep through the night completely, not have to wake up to go to the bathroom. But when I wake up in the morning, if I fully wake up, I will really, really have to go to the bathroom really, really badly, and I will be completely dehydrated feeling, even if I had drunk a huge amount of water before I went to bed. It's sleep. For some reason, sleep dehydrates me.
You haven't looked this up yet to see what's wrong
No.
with you? No, you probably have diabetes.
I'm worried that it's some kind of strange condition that, I don't know, I've got a few months left, maybe.
Oh, we'll see.
So I had a weird encounter the other night. I went out to go see a band play. They were one of the kind of old school bands that used to play around town, and they were getting back together, and so there was kind of this nostalgia quotient. So there were a lot of people who I hadn't seen for a long time that were out at this show. And this one guy in particular who I didn't know really well, would just see him in passing years ago at shows. He came up to me and seemed very pleased that I was around. And he's like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And kept hugging me and like, hey.
Yeah.
And then while I was watching the show, I was standing next to a friend, and he kept coming up behind me and rubbing my back while I was watching the show.
Yeah.
And then he would come up behind me and like hug me from behind and try to pick me up over and over again.
Yeah.
And I knew he was drunk.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a drunk move.
Yeah. And obviously feeling, some sort of affection towards humanity in general or something.
Uh-huh.
But it was actually crossing the line between and getting slightly uncomfortable, because then he was just there, just rubbing my back. Over and over and over. Other people would come up to me and be like, hey, what's going on? And then they'd notice that there was this dude just like kneading my back. And it became very uncomfortable. I didn't know how to react properly in that situation, if I should have told him to stop or...
I don't know. I think you keep like turning around or trying to like kind of move out of it subtly without being like, stop touching me. Because then you'll have that situation where you'll turn around and be like, stop touching me. And there'll be this quiet moment in the bar, and everyone will look and see this guy. And it'll be
I mean, there
for him.
wasn't... I didn't want to like punch him in the throat or anything.
No,
there
no
wasn't
punching.
Any need
no.
for,
That was... You should ask him to stop before you start punching him.
Yeah, I mean, but it was weird, because it wasn't like... It wasn't like it was upsetting me, or I guess if I were a woman and some dude came and just started rubbing my back, that would be crossing a certain line or something. But to me, I mean, I don't give a shit. It was just kind of an odd interaction. I didn't know how to deal with it.
Well,
properly.
some people are more touchy than other people. Neither of us are touchy people. We don't like rub people's backs or like massage people very often.
No.
But then sometimes you're around people and they're big huggers, but it does usually stop at some point. It doesn't continue. Yeah. There isn't continued molestation going on for extended periods.
I've wanted to get into that more because for some reason my friend group in LA, everybody always hugged everybody all the time, and girls always kiss guys on the cheek and guys kiss girls on the cheek. It's like to kiss hello. In the Pacific Northwest region, that doesn't seem to be very prevalent. We all seem very cold and distant.
And actually, the hugging, I think in our group, there isn't much hugging. But
there isn't much at all.
Other people that I see that I know, there's always hugging usually.
Yeah.
We're not big huggers.
I don't mind it. I don't mind the kiss on the cheek either. I kind of like that.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can take it or leave it.
I can't think of like a time when I've like seen like girls and like hug them and they kiss me on the cheek. I mean, it happens sometimes when they're like drunk and like, oh, I'm so happy to see you, and then they like kiss you on the cheek or whatever. But not like in a regular way, like we're some sort of Europeans where they're like, and you're like, oh yes, it's so good to see you. And it's better off that way. I don't want to always be hugging and kissing people. I don't even like to get like, I don't like to say goodbye when I leave like social like engagements or anything. Like if there's a party, I'm like, I'm out of here. And someone's like, aren't you going to say goodbye to everybody? I'm like, no. I see these people all the time. I'm just going to sneak out. I don't want to make a big elaborate production of the fact that I'm leaving.
I usually do the thing where I walk into the middle of the group and I silently raise my hand and do a wave thing, and then I walk out.
That is a good way to do it, right? Because you can just be like, hey, I'm out of here. Because I don't need to be like, I don't need to hug every single person and be like, so good to see you. Because I see these people all the time. And I'll just see them again in a day or two or something. So I'm like, I'm out. Goodbye. And I leave. I don't need it to be turned into like a thing.
Well, you always have to think about the proper threshold of affection to show. Like, how long does it take before a hug is required as a greeting? Like, you haven't seen each other in a couple months, so do you hug hello? Like, you know.
I think if it's a while, then you hug hello. But if someone you see a lot, and then you don't do it, because it's just, I don't know.
Maybe this is sexist or a result of gender inequality, but I usually will hug a woman hello much more likely to do that than hug a guy friend hello. But I don't mind hugging the guy friend hello. I don't know.
No. I just don't need the hug.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, you have a girlfriend, so you get physical contact.
Are you getting like some sort of sexual satisfaction from these hugs that you're
No,
giving?
but it's not sexual. It's just people need to be touched every once in a while.
Really? And that's where you're getting it, from the hugs from your friends?
No, it's not. I don't mean that. I
like to be touched.
There's a difference between sexual touch and just like physical touch being a restorative thing for you. You know, like humans are social animals. We need to feel
hippie bullshit you're spouting at me right now. You need to be touched by other humans, like have their hands laid on you to get some restorative effect.
I think that's a normal thing that humans need to like have closeness to people, even if it's not in a sexual way.
No, I don't know. I never really thought about it. I don't feel that need, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it would be different if I had a girlfriend and I was getting, like, I was physically close to somebody all the time. I don't know. I
know that at one point with my grandfather's wife, I had gone into some sort of, like, family gathering once and, like, not hugged her. Because I just kind of skirt the hugging sometimes because I don't want to get involved. And then she, like, called me out, and she's like, it's customary. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of defeats the purpose when it's a socially expected.
Yeah, you need to hug me.
Yeah.
This is what we do here. And it's like, fine, I'll give you your hug. Ugh.
My grandma used to kiss me whenever she saw me.
Oh, on
like
the
on the cheek.
Okay, good.
And actually, I saw a father with his little girl the other day.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Give Daddy a kiss," and they kissed on the lips.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
I've seen it on like movies and TV and stuff. But I also think that like where I come from my family, we're like Calvinist Dutch Protestant
we
roots.
had no affection in my family whatsoever.
You barely ever touch anyone else.
Yeah.
There's not any like where my parents were the high school, dancing was forbidden, a la Footloose. I mean, it's like there's nothing like there's no craziness
Warren
going
is from
on.
A Dutch Christian Reform.
There's
background.
nothing. There's barely any touching.
Yeah.
There's no dancing. There's no laughing. There's no drinking. Everyone just stares at each other awkwardly.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So that's how my family functions. So like, you see a movie or you go actually just hang out with somebody else's family and maybe they're Italians or they're some other ethnic group, they're Hispanic or something, and they're all like hugging and touching and kissing each other, and you're like,
you get very uncomfortable.
Well, it's weird because they'll like hug and like kiss you too. You're like, oh, it's good to see you, and you're like, oh wow, this is weird because my own family wouldn't ever do this because this isn't the way we do things.
Yeah, I think when I was a little kid, I think I used to like hug my mom, and I still will hug her when I see her now, but there was no like physical affection in my family whatsoever growing up. Like I don't hug any of my siblings. Like I don't know. I guess that's fine. Maybe that.
Well, it seems like you need more touch in your life.
Maybe
that's what you're saying. You're crying out to be
affection.
touched by your friends.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, everyone talks about, especially with unmarried 20-somethings or early 30-somethings, that the friend group is the new family. It's like the extended family, and so that's where they get their affection and validation. And
they're touching.
Like they're touching. The problem is if you're like hugging a friend and you start kind of like, you don't want that to happen.
What are you doing? Are you pawing them right now?
No, not pawing them, but just like enjoying it too much or something.
Oh, yeah, that's awkward.
Awkward.
Oh, who wants? Yeah,
that's like when you're 16 years old and you go to a high school dance and you can't really dance with the girl because you automatically get an erection.
Yeah, that's a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it's like to be 16, though.
Which doesn't happen anymore.
No, merely
luckily.
like having like physical contact, touching a girl is just like you can't handle it.
Just immediately.
It's just because you're just all you want to do is reproduce, and that's all your body's telling you to do. So you're just like, you just can't handle anything.
When I think back to those years, like 15, 16, when you just constantly have an erection, it was horrible. I remember for some reason I always got one in physics class all the time. I don't know why. Like there was nothing particularly stimulating about being in physics class. But you constantly had your hand in your pocket to try to hide the erection.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, I don't know. It was an issue.
Well, it's weird because it makes me think about society, right? How really we channel people away from sex for good reasons, maybe until they're older and stuff, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe people need to start, like, getting married when they're 14 or something.
I don't know.
So they can start having, you know what I mean? Because that's when you really need to start having sex, it feels like.
Well, and that's, 1,000 years ago, that's the way it was. As soon as you were sexually mature, you got married. Well, not necessarily marriage, but you had a mate, a partner, and now we have this weird extended adolescence and young adulthood where you don't do that yet, but people still want to have sex, obviously.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And maybe if I had been like married and had a wife I was having sex with when I was 14, maybe I could have concentrated in school. You know what I mean? Because that was all I was thinking about.
Well, then you're also working to support your little brats that you've had when you were 13 years old.
Yeah, that's probably true. But I mean, it wasn't like I couldn't pay attention in class. That's like the only thing I thought about at that time. Yeah. I was just like, that's where I was mentally, and maybe that would have been an outlet to have, and I could have like gone on with things.
That whole erection thing, I was thinking about that the other day because a while ago I was dancing and a girl tried to do the old shove her ass in my crotch thing, which I never know how to respond to properly.
No, it's awkward.
You look around and everyone seems to know exactly what to do. A girl shoves their ass in your crotch and the guy's like, oh yeah, and they start kind of humping them and grabbing their ass, and I'm always slightly uncomfortable by it. Because the people we hang out with don't really do that unless we're fucking around and think it's amusing. But the girl, she'll do it. She'll shove her ass in your crotch, rub it around, and you're like, all right, we're doing this. And I don't know if the proper response is to get an erection. Like, is that what they're looking for? Or would that freak them out? Because after a while, they just they do it, and then they, like, look back and just kind of go, okay. And they walk off. And I don't know if it's because I wasn't properly aroused by them shoving their ass in my crotch or what.
I don't know. There is a certain, like, threshold of irony that certain people pass where you can never get to the point where you can, like, be on a dance floor humping somebody without, like, just laughing and, like, seeing how ridiculous what you're doing is. Yeah. You know what I mean? But someone explained this to me once, because I always used to ask about this too, right? Because what are they doing? Are these people have erections? Are they, like, they're humping each other? Right. You know what I mean? And the distinction was made that, like, if you're, like, humping someone on a dance floor and then someone becomes erect, it's okay. Okay. But if you're just approaching women with an erection and humping them,
that's an important distinction.
That's an incredibly large distinction, because then you're just being a creep that's trying to rub on women and not, like, doing something with this other woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if we have any women who like to hump people on dance floors, write in and let us know what you would like to have happen when you hump somebody on a dance floor. Do you want the erection to develop, or
humping women on dance floors don't listen to the show?
Yeah, they might.
You think?
If you are listening, write to podcast at warrenandbradley.com and let us know.
Let us know about humping.
I'd like to know how to react the next time somebody humps me on a dance floor.
Rather than just laugh, which is my reaction. Yeah. And then just try to kind of get away from it and be like, I don't know what to do with you.
Well, and it never goes well, because usually I'm with friends, and if a girl starts rubbing her ass against me, I usually go and, like, look over at my friends, and then they laugh, and then she notices that I'm laughing and my friends are laughing, and then she stops humping me and goes away and humps somebody else.
I do recall a couple years ago, I think I was at a local dance club, and some large, like, very tall woman, ugly woman saw me, and she, like, stared at me, and I was like, uh-oh. And then she came over and, like, started, like, humping me, but she grabbed me with all her strength and was, like, holding me, and I was, like, pinned, and I would have had to, like, I could have broken away, right? Mm-hmm. But it would have been, like, awkward. Like, I obviously would have, like, been forcing my way away from her. Right. And she smelled like meat sauce or something.
Meat sauce.
Like tomato sauce that you have on, like, ravioli or something. Just ugly and smelled horrible. And then this went on for, like, an entire song, and it was just really uncomfortable. And then she, like, got done after the song, and she's like, thanks, and, like, walked away. And I was like, that was awful.
Was it good for you?
No, you know what I mean? It was like, I was just hoping it would be over. And then, of course, the friends were there I remember, like, watching and just, like, laughing. Well, of
course.
You know, it was so amusing. And it's like, it's amusing for you. I'm the one that's, like, stuck in this meat sauce situation here.
Well, we have a feature for everybody here.
Oh, good.
For listeners who are new to the show, occasionally, as I'm on my wanders throughout the streets of Bellingham, I get approached by homeless people. Sometimes they do strange things, and then I recount those strange things on air in a feature we like to call Street Freak of the Week.
They wander the streets, scavenging for loose change and discarded cigarette butts.
Beer $1.
And give me a motherfucking cigarette.
I ran out of gas ways back. Got any meth?
You smoke weed, don't you?
Good.
I could use some change.
They may be mentally unstable and deserving of our charity, but that doesn't mean they can't be selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
So this happened today. I was out enjoying the pleasant weather that we have because you have to enjoy it while it's here. Otherwise, you know that the next day I think it's supposed to start raining, I don't know, Tuesday. So I went out, got my coffee. It was like, wandering around. That was Vivaldi Spring. Wandering around the streets of Bellingham, watching people, you know, in their tank tops and halter tops in the 64-degree heat. At one point, there was this kind of older gentleman leaning up against a parking meter. I think he was waiting for his wife or something. And a long-haired, kind of fuzzy-faced homeless man approached him. I was like, you have any cash? Got any change? And the guy, I couldn't really hear the guy's conversation very well, but I could see he was doing the whole, like, like pretending to check his pocket and blah, 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 blah. And then the guy walked away. I didn't think anything of it. Literally about 2 minutes later, he came back again and asked the same guy for money again, as though he had just completely forgotten that he had approached him previously. And the guy was getting a little annoyed. He just seemed kind of like a, buttoned-up middle-aged guy.
This is like the scariest things happening.
Yeah, he's not used to dealing with this kind of frightening situation. And so he gave him the excuse that he had given all his cash to the juggler at the farmer's market. For those of you who don't know, Bellingham has a farmer's market every day.
Apparently a
or
juggler
not every
there.
day. And apparently there was a juggler performing there, and this guy tipped him. And I don't know if he was lying, but this was how he was hoping to get rid of this homeless person. So the homeless person goes, I can juggle. And he gets out, he had like a can of Coke, and then he also had some sort of like plastic bag with something in it.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it was his own feces. And so he starts throwing these two things in the air in front of this guy, like, do-do-do-do-do. And he's not officially juggling, because I think 3 objects are required.
Yeah, you're just tossing
minimum.
2 things in the air.
Yeah, he was just tossing 2 things into the air. And this guy was so horrified by what was happening around him, and he was looking around mortified as though...
Like, the police are going to help him.
Yeah, like the police are going to come, or somebody's going to come to his aid. It was this weird situation where this guy was acting like a weirdo, and this guy somehow felt that it reflected poorly upon him or something, like in this strange way. But he starts juggling around, dancing around, trying to juggle. The guy's like, oh, what do I do? Where do I go? And then finally the guy actually stumbles and falls over the hood of a car, a parked car in front, and then like lands on his ass, and his like bag of shit and his can of Coke fall to the ground. The Coke can hits and like starts spraying Coke out. And that's when this guy just like goes, oh, the middle-aged man just scurries away as fast as he can. Like he's decided he's had enough. The homeless person looks around and sees me. He's still sitting on the ground, just kind of on the curb. He turns around and looks at me. Do you have any change? And I'm like, no, I only have a card, which is often my go-to method of, denying homeless people money. Then he looks and sees that I have a coffee cup in my hand that's from the bagelry.
Yeah.
And And so he got me on a technicality. Isn't that from the bagelry? It's like, yes, it is from the bagelry. They don't take cards. They only take cash. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh, well, I used the last of my cash in the bagelry. So it got into this whole thing where normally I would just say, I'm sorry, no, I don't have any money.
Yeah.
But I decided for some reason to lie, and then he caught me on the lie.
Why lie?
I don't know. I don't need to lie. It doesn't matter what this guy thinks of me.
Yes.
But he basically shamed me enough that I was like, let me check. And I reached into my pocket, and I had like 15 cents or something.
So you ended up giving this guy money?
Yeah.
Terrible. I had an interaction this morning when I went and got coffee.
Yeah.
And I was walking back with my coffee, and I had the earbuds in, and I saw a homeless man like look at me from across the street, and he scurried across the street to attempt to cut me off, you know? And he was going to step in my way, and I had the like music going, and I could see his lips moving, like blah, blah, and I just shook my head, and I just kept walking, because that's what I do. You don't get any of my time.
Right.
You don't deserve any of my time.
What if he was saying, my wife has just had a heart attack? Do you have a cell
you know
phone
what
to call
I'd
the
do?
police?
I'd be like, fuck you. No, you're lying to me, because you people lie all the time. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with people are at gas stations. Someone comes up to them and they're like, "Oh my God, I just need $5 to get back to town. You know, I didn't bring my wallet," and people believe them.
That's even part of our Street Freak of the Week intro. I ran out of gas.
Yes,
it's a classic.
It's just
classic ploy.
He could have told me any number. There's nothing that man could have told me that I would have believed. It could have been the world will end in 5 minutes if you don't give me $5. Well, I guess that I wouldn't believe that anyways. But there's someone's having a stroke in the alley. If they said that, I'd be like, really? And I might go look, and they'd be like, yeah, I need 15 cents to resolve that. It's.
Well, I know. I like the excuses where I don't see how me giving you money goes to any length to resolving the thing that you have mentioned is the reason you need the money.
Yeah.
Other than I need to get drunk. I can understand why me giving you money would help in that regard, but anything else. So I guess the winner of this week's Street Freak of the Week is the long-haired, juggling homeless man.
Congratulations, buddy.
Who called me on my bullshit. So congratulations. You've been selected as the Street Freak of the Week.
Our hats are off to you, Mr. Homeless Man, because you've been selected as the Warren and Bradley Show Street Freak of the Week.
Dear Warren and Bradley, I am writing this missive to let you know that I was utterly delighted with last week's episode. Your tales of prostitutes and the indigent are always quite illuminating, and I say, could you turn off that racket? Turn it off, I say! What are you doing? Can't hear myself make this ridiculous noise.
Listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show.
All right, so last week we mentioned circumcision and foreskin.
We did.
And as I predicted or assumed would happen, we had several responses from listeners. Some people very vehemently denying the fact that Warren and I were of the position that foreskin makes no difference.
We're not passionate about the subject.
No, we don't give a shit. Neither of us have foreskin, and we don't feel like we've been impeded in any way in our sexual life, our emotional health, nothing. But I had several people contact me telling me that, yes, foreskin is absolutely necessary to be a healthy male. And so I went and did some research, and basically they're wrong. And I found lots of actual research materials to back me up here. I'm not going to get into all the studies, but
he's got quite a stack.
I have a whole stack of paper. I even got a highlighter out and started highlighting things. There are some conflicting results. There's been many, many studies. I think the first comprehensive study was done in 1966 or something, but there's another study from 2007 I have here, one from 2002, one from 2009. Here's a quote from a study done in January of 2007, the American Academy of Family Physicians. They say no valid evidence to date, however, supports the notion that being circumcised affects sexual sensation or satisfaction. They're talking about penile sensitivity. Adult male circumcision was not associated with sexual dysfunction. Circumcised men reported increased penile sensitivity and enhanced ease of reaching orgasm. In a 2009 study of 22 men in Mexico circumcised for medical reasons, so this was adult circumcision, they reported a statistically significant improvement in perception of sexual effects after being circumcised.
Well, if they were having if they had a problem, they would.
Well, and that's one thing, you'd have to think if they have some sort of bloated foreskin that's not working out too well.
They're like, everything's better now, and you're like, well, that means circumcision's better,
no clinically significant difference could be established between the circumcised and uncircumcised glands during these examinations. So a lot of people are saying that the old head of the old penis gets less sensitive after circumcision. They're finding no effects for that. No difference in sensitivity, no significant differences, no differences in genital sensitivity. There are other people who are saying that foreskin is sexually responsive itself, but we have studies here saying that so they're claiming that a sexual role based upon the presence of nerve endings in the foreskin being sensitive to light touch and fluttering sensations, and saying that removal of this causes a decrease in sexual satisfaction. They're saying that in self-assessed sexual sensitivity, when they were assessing areas producing sexual pleasure, the foreskin was ranked 7th after the glands, the lower and upper shaft, and the left and right sides of the penises, but above the area between scrotum and anus, the scrotum itself, and the anus. So I guess I never think of the taint as a sexual
or the
area.
Scrotum,
or
really.
The scrotum.
Deriving pleasure from that seems odd.
But apparently, if I had a foreskin, I would rank that higher on my.
I could see how that would be.
I guess. So basically, we were right, and there's no difference. But one thing that I found that was very interesting is that some of these men who think they've been shortchanged by having their foreskin removed, there is foreskin restoration, Warren.
Oh, thank God.
Now, this is something that you should consider because you're so curious as to how it feels. Even though we've read these studies that show that there is no real difference, if you wanted to, you could restore your foreskin, and then you would know. Not exactly.
Long and painful process.
Well, apparently, we mentioned before, I was talking about when people have broken their penises, they get these penis traction devices that'll apparently stretch them out again and make them work. And you were a little skeptical about it. But apparently, any sort of stretching done on anything in your body, if you do it enough, will result in mitosis, which is I don't know how technical I'm going to get, people are going to be shutting off, but basically cells will start to replicate.
Yes.
And so basically there are these people who spend hours every day tugging on their penis, like the area where the foreskin used to be.
People that do that.
Well, yeah. But this is in a non-sexual way, apparently. They sit there for hours yanking on the place where the foreskin was, and after 2 to 4 years, with concentrated daily yanking, you will grow a new foreskin that will cover the head of your penis.
Right. Just don't do this, people.
We'll actually post a picture. There's actually these tension devices that you can clamp on to your penis and yank your foreskin, or yank what should be your foreskin. It's insane, but people do this, and apparently it works. You could have a new foreskin.
Good. Don't do this. Just there's so many books to read, so many places to go in life. People, don't spend your entire life
if you just
stretching your foreskin.
You put that machine on your penis, and then you've got a good 2 or 3 hours where you could read a book while your penis is being yanked mercilessly.
Maybe I'll do it then. Maybe I'll give me more time to read. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I should stretch my foreskin.
Why not? What else do you have to do, really?
Not much.
You don't have a lot going on. Just do it, and we'll just keep measuring the progress.
This could be an update.
Show
I'll take pictures of my penis and post them online every month. I'm sure people would love to see that.
The slow and steady progress.
This has been listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show. If you'd like to get in touch, send your questions, comments, and concerns to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.
And we're back.
Excellent. Now I think it's time for Celebrity Minute.
Woo!
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
First story, Katy Perry kisses sailor at naval concert. I don't know why I picked this story up, but basically the whole story is that Katy Perry was sick, had a horrible cold, at 101.8 degree temperature, and while performing at the Naval, I think it was the Naval Academy in Annapolis, she pulled a guy out of the audience. He was apparently Officer Beasley. She asked him how old he was. He said he was 20. She said, "Is this even legal?" And then she said that she wanted to recreate the famous pose from, what was it, VJ Day? Was that when that was from? Or was it from?
Maybe VJ Day. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
I
can't remember either.
Yeah, who the fuck cares? And so basically she asked the man if he minded the fact that she had a cold, and he said no. And so they kissed.
Isn't Katy Perry's music aimed at 12-year-old girls?
Guys, I don't know. Well, it was at the Naval Academy, so obviously it was filled with men.
Yeah, do men in their 20s want to see Katy Perry perform?
I think if you're at the Naval Academy and Katy Perry is going to perform, you would probably go see Katy Perry.
You'd probably go, but are like the generals who organize this be like, you know what the kids like nowadays? Katy Perry.
I don't know. You like her.
I don't like her music.
You don't buy her CDs and listen to her.
You know what I mean? It's for children, isn't it?
Well, it was funny because I watched the video of this, and the crowd seemed quite into it. They were quite impressed by that.
Every time I've seen like some USO thing, though, and they put anyone out there, the troops are, and the sailors are always just thrilled with whatever
They
they're
do
saying.
seem easily entertained.
They just are so happy to be there.
But I think, I don't know, making out with one of your fellow officers, it's goodwill. Goodwill towards the troops.
What are your fellow officers?
Well, yeah, because they're all... When you're in the Naval Academy, you automatically become a lieutenant, I think.
I think you're a second lieutenant or something when you get out.
Yeah.
No, that's... Wait, uh-oh. Are
Naval.
they have lieutenants in the Navy?
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, she made out with some soldier. They liked it. He was pleased. He might have a cold now. He's probably coughing up phlegm, but he doesn't care because he got to kiss Katy Perry. So apparently she's put her Russell Brand separation behind her.
Oh, that
now.
obviously shows that
Exactly.
she has.
She's gotten on with her
kissing
life.
sailors.
Next story.
Unauthorized biography spills Simon Cowell secrets.
I like this story because, for the most part, it is basically exactly what you would think. It talks about how he's a savvy businessman, kind of a dick, but not that much of a dick, sort of vain. What I liked was that apparently he gets daily colonic irrigations, Botox injections, and vitamin drips, and insists on black toilet paper in his home.
I've never seen black toilet paper.
I don't know where you would buy black toilet paper.
It's probably expensive.
I don't know if I like the idea of the black toilet paper because you can't tell when you're done.
No. Why would you want that?
I don't know.
That's
Maybe he doesn't want to see the feces on the toilet paper, but that's how you know that you're done wiping.
This is how you know that, like, I'm different than Simon Cowell, though. Because he's like, now I'm going to make the show called The X Factor to make more money. And I think he made, like, hundreds of millions of dollars on the previous show. I couldn't imagine keep working on another show. Would you stop?
Well, apparently the reason he started the X Factor was because he got X'd out of the co-creator credit for American Idol and Pop Idol in England, and he was incensed about this. And so he wanted to do his own thing to show that he was actually...
These are the...
Yeah, well, this is why these people are successful.
Right?
That's why we are not successful, is because we don't give a shit about this kind of thing. You have to be slightly megalomaniacal and crazy in order to really make it. And that's what basically I read this whole article, and that's what it shows him. He's the least amount of dick that you could imagine him being to be as successful as he is. He's still a dick, but the least dick he could possibly be.
It reminds me of, like, the most elite athletes in the world, how they all have, like, personality problems.
You have to have a personality disorder. You have to want to win above all things.
Because at some point, if you're a normal person, you're just like... What's the point of this?
You know, I'm pretty competitive, but there is a point where you're like, whatever. You know,
it doesn't matter, really.
It doesn't really matter. But it does, I guess, getting somewhere in life.
You have to think it matters. And you, like, Simon Cowell has to think that he's slighted. Right. And, like, those athletes have to think that someone slighted them in some way, and they have to prove everyone wrong and stuff. And I just don't care about
you have to have a mild persecution complex and think that everything is you against the world, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how you inspire that within yourself. If you don't have that, you just don't have it, I don't think. Ted Nugent agrees to plead guilty in illegal kill. Which is a good headline, but I guess it was a bear. He was bow hunting black bears in Alaska. Apparently he wounded one, which goes towards your limit of one bear to kill, but then later he killed another. Yeah. And then transported the bear out of the state, which was, I guess, also illegal. I don't know. Why do you need to kill a bear?
I don't know. I don't understand the impulse to kill everything.
It really pisses. I mean, I'm not anti-hunting per se, but I would never go hunting. We don't need to.
I heard a story this week about King Carlos of Spain going on some safari and just killing a bunch of animals and it being, like, paid for by Arabs or something. And the Spanish people are very upset about it. Do you feel the impulse to go out and, like, kill a bunch of, like, big animals?
I heard another story recently about Trump's sons. His two sons went to Africa and killed, like, a fucking elephant and a giraffe and all these things. And I didn't think you were allowed to kill any elephants.
Maybe if you have enough money, but what's the point of killing all these poor animals? This is the thing. If you're taking them down with your bare hands, that's pretty badass. If you have a gun and a bunch of, like, bearers and you have, like, a jeep and you go out and shoot a bunch of animals,
there's some elephant at a watering hole and you shoot it in the ass and it falls down.
And you have a guide that got you there. Yeah. You didn't do anything except for pull out your gun and shoot, like, a harmless animal. Yeah. It's crazy.
There's no skill involved.
We are not environmental wackos by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, it's, like, stupid to kill a bunch of animals for no reason.
Yeah, and you have to wonder about the mentality of somebody who I mean, I know Ted Nugent tries to act like he's this crazy survivalist. Well, he is a crazy survivalist.
Yes.
And so it's all about hunting and sustaining and being like, oh, well, I can take care of myself. He's not eating the bear.
No, well, he might, but it's like,
even if
it's all about sustainability and it's all about doing things yourself, why are you transporting bears across state lines?
Yeah.
That involves a lot of sophisticated logistics to do that. If Ted Nugent goes to the woods in Montana and builds a little shack out of trees and is really surviving with a knife and like killing a bear and eating the entire thing, you know what?
More power
to you.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to Alaska and killing a bunch of bears and having them shipped across state lines because it makes you feel better about yourself, fuck you. You don't need to kill all these animals.
Let's stop all the killing.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Rihanna caught in a new photo scandal.
Oh my.
Does anybody think marijuana use is that shocking anymore?
No, I think that ship sailed like in the early 90s.
Yeah, so basically she was caught at Coachella on the shoulders of one of her security guards rolling a joint off of a pile of pot that was on the top of his bald head.
He just looks so annoyed.
He does kind of look irritated.
Ugh. Can you imagine being a security person for these like self-indulgent weirdos?
I wouldn't mind Rihanna straddling me though in that way.
But at the same time, he has to make sure she doesn't get like shivved or something. Yeah. So he's probably very nervous at this point, right?
He does look a little...
He can't see like behind her.
Right.
And now he does look like really... He looks uncomfortable. And he looks like he'd rather she get down and he could like...
She's in a prominent like sniping position too. Anybody could just take her out up there. He looks like he's... Well, there's snipers everywhere trying to kill these celebrities. And he's the thin blue line between them and Rihanna.
People aren't doing a lot of sniping nowadays, are they?
I don't know.
I feel like... when I watch movies from the 70s and stuff, there's a lot of snipers involved and there's a lot of sniping going on. Yeah. Now it's like...
Well, it used to be you'd go up to a water... if you were going to go on a rampage and kill people, you would climb onto the top of a water tower and use a sniper rifle.
Like the guy at the University of Texas years ago. And then, people were trying to assassinate people with sniper rifles back in the day. You don't hear about it
now
anymore.
You just get an assault rifle and go in the middle of a school or something.
And kill a bunch of kids or something. Why aren't people like getting obsessed with
classy snipers? What's going on here?
Get classy. Start getting obsessed with heads of state and like pop singers. And
You're
try
supposed
to
have the
assassinate
little
them.
suitcase that you open up and you screw your gun together.
Yes.
You put on little leather gloves and get a tripod.
And that's like the Manchurian Candidate.
And you smoke there on this ledge for hours and hours as you wait for your target. Come on. People are just so lazy now. It's like, I'm going to buy a banana clip and an assault rifle. I'm going to just go walk into a school. Come on.
Let's start sniping again.
The next shooting I hear about, I hope that it's a sniper.
Yeah.
I'll feel much better about the state of our society.
It would make me kind of nostalgic.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
The other day I was reading a film review of The Great Dictator by George Orwell, the Chaplin film.
Yeah.
About at some point in the film, there's a dictator that is supposed to be Hitler, of course.
Right.
And the Chaplin plays a character who's a little Jewish barber or something, and eventually he gets confused with Hitler, and he ends up being Hitler. And I was thinking about that. If, let's say, a president was elected in the next few years, and he looks almost exactly like you, the governor of Georgia or something, you know what I mean? He gets elected. Some sort of like conspiracy of industrial concerns wants him eliminated for some reason politically.
Right. And then they can put you in as a puppet.
Yes. They come to you. Mm-hmm. They're like, it's already done. He's going to be killed. We need you to step in. We need you to become the president. You're going to have to take over. You're going to have to take the responsibility. We don't even care what you do as long as you don't implement these certain policies that we are opposed to.
Right.
You can rule the country any way you like. If you say no, we're just going to kill you right now. You know what I mean? What do you do in this situation? Are you going to take the presidency?
So what about people who know me? Like, everyone who knows me knows that I look exactly like the president.
Do. They have the financial resources to make it look like you died.
Okay.
Right? So people are going to think you're dead.
So I have to give up my life, and I have to become the president.
Yes.
The fact that so this has to happen in the future, because I'm not old enough to be president yet.
Yes. This is like 8 years from now.
Okay, so 8 years from now, I'm still single. I still have a horrible job.
You basically have the same life you have right now.
Yeah, and in 8 years, that's very depressing.
Yes.
So there would be some motivation to take on the mantle of the president. And you and I have talked about before how we could probably run things much better than anyone else, which I think just is a given. Obviously, if anyone who's listened to this show knows that our ideas are spot on.
Yeah.
If I were going to be killed anyway, if I did not have to go like invade some country as like a condition of becoming the president and do horrible, evil things,
Yes.
Yeah, I think I would.
Okay, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
So now you're the president for like a year or two.
Right.
You're safe. You're out of like the hands of this,
It's all blown over.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like-
And you trust people within the Secret Service. You trust people within the government.
Right.
Do you tell them what happened?
Well, what would happen to me as a result of that?
The thing is, you feel at this point you're like safe. You're not
Yeah.
going to be killed by them. You feel like you have enough power that you can tell them
By
this.
the way, I was never elected. I
You're
was
like,
put in
I'm not
charge
the
as a result
president.
of
This is
a
what
murder
happened.
plot.
They're going to be wow. But
Yeah.
you're also going to be removed from power at that point.
Well, and I would probably also be considered an accessory because I knew about the plot beforehand and didn't warn anybody about it.
Well, that might be a sacrifice you're going to have to make.
Yeah.
Are you willing enough to like sacrifice your power and possibly go to jail to preserve
The integrity of
Constitution?
the office
Yes.
of the president of the United States. I don't really think it has much integrity anyway. And if we're going through this as like a wacky Hollywood movie, then obviously
Yes.
you would not turn yourself in. You have to play this out as long as you possibly can. And then, I don't know, you become involved with some reporter woman.
Yeah.
And then she starts sniffing around and finds out that there's more to this story. And then you have to make a decision between
Yes.
trust in her and loving her or going through with the power that you've accrued. And also you've been very successful as the president. You've implemented policies that people are right behind. And I think thinking about, my presidential pension and going along, you do the speaking tours after you've been president. You go on like Good Morning
But
America.
you'd be able to
and
write a good book too. You probably. I
Yeah.
don't think financially you'd have any problem. You wouldn't be back on the street.
well,
after
how
this
long would my
happened.
prison term be? And that's the problem.
I think you can play this out in a way.
We've
where
already
you don't
talked
go to
about the
prison.
dangers of. Well, I wouldn't go to like state.
No,
pen,
no,
though.
I don't
That's
know
the
if you
thing.
go to prison at all because you
Yeah.
were put in the situation. You did what you best you could with it, and then you like tried to resolve it as soon as possible.
Well, maybe I'd be considered a hero because of it.
Yeah, I think you would. Well, I think if you actually went to like the FBI and told them what happened, you'd be considered a hero. I don't think you go to jail.
I don't know. I knew about a plot to kill the president before the president was killed, and I didn't tell anybody that the president was going to be killed.
Yeah, basically, I guess that's true. But the thing is, you couldn't have gone to anyone to tell because they were going to kill you in your apartment if you had.
Oh, right
go
that
along with
minute.
it. Yes, it's not like they were going to be like. They weren't going to reveal their plan to you and then leave you to like go tell someone about it, right?
Yeah, I guess that would be a little too trusting on
No,
their
no,
part.
no. They would not do that.
Yeah. Well, what would you do? Would you continue being the president, or would you go to the Secret Service?
I think this is what I like to think I would do.
Mm-hmm.
I'd see that they had all the cards at the beginning, so I'd go along with it at 1st.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I was sure of who I could trust within the government and that I could like win a power struggle and make sure those people were defeated that were part of the conspiracy, I would notify people and I would relinquish power and have.
But what
whoever-
if after you first became president, you're like, okay, I have to just play this role and get through this. But as you become comfortable in the role, you start understanding, the geopolitical situation. You realize that there are things that you can implement that would be massively helpful to the world at large and to the nation in particular. But if you turn yourself in and do the thing that you consider morally correct, it will mean that other people will suffer because these plans that you're going to implement will no longer be implemented because anything with your name on it is just dirty after that.
But that kind of thinking
is the megalomaniacal thinking that you need to have to be president.
But it's also like the fact that the law was broken,
Yeah.
the fact that our system was completely corrupted is okay as long as I'm in power because I know what's right.
Right. Which is dangerously close to dictatorship.
Yes.
But don't you think that you need to have that mentality in order to even consider being president?
No, I think what you need for the country needs
Well,
is
yeah.
people of integrity that wouldn't just seize power.
But
at
none
any-
of those people ever step up and run for president, it seems like.
But the people who are elected president are legitimately elected
Yeah.
for the most part, right?
Well, what if this went through your first term?
Yes.
And you had to be there for your first term because of, whatever weird machinations
Yes.
were going on in the background, and then you won re-election. In my mind, I don't have a whole lot of faith in the political system anyway. I have a certain idealism where I think it would be good if things did work in a certain way, but I
Yes.
don't have any confidence that they ever do work in that way.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think, just say fuck it.
You just go with it. You just be the president.
I know what's best for people.
You know what's best for people, and then you would just retire as the president. You'd
Yeah.
be wealthy, and you'd
Yeah.
be fine with that.
Yeah. And then eventually there'd be some DNA testing or something on my deathbed, and they'd be like, what the fuck?
Oh, can you imagine that? 50 years later,
Yeah.
they write a book. Someone's like, "There's no way that actually happened."
But I think people would actually admire me more that I pulled it off. Because we tend to like that in our society, getting away with things. People seem to enjoy that.
I think people that were involved in Watergate would differ on that.
Well, that was different. But, like, if it was something...
yeah, that's much less egregious than
If it
this.
seemed more altruistic, though, like you did a great job, the country had never been on a
But
better
the origins
footing.
of this weren't altruistic.
No. But you made lemons out of or you made lemonade out of lemons. From a certain perspective.
All right, we're different on this because
right.
I'm leaving office. You're just gonna grab as much power as possible. You think you can handle being the president, though? You think you can handle the pressure? Wouldn't get to you?
I have no fucking idea. But I mean, for the most part, it's about it's about delegating responsibility.
It is about delegating responsibility, but also you do have a lot of responsibility, and we don't have very much responsibility in our lives. And anytime the briefest thing that I have to do where some responsibility is called upon, I just feel so annoyed.
Well, the cliche Hollywood ending to this would be that you are that kind of person where you're kind of a slacker, but then when you're thrust into this position of power, you rise to the occasion and you find out that you have these unknown reserves that you tap into.
I would like to think I would rise to the occasion, but you never know. It might just be overwhelming. Be I cannot handle this. Yeah.
That's fun to think about. All right. I guess that's all the time we have for this episode of the
we're
Warren
going to say
and Bradley
goodbye
Show.
to the audience?
Yeah, we should.
Okay. Bye, audience.
We'll start that tradition now so people know when the show's actually over.
Yeah.
Some people, they just keep listening. They don't understand that it's over, and they get really confused.
And they think it's
they haven't been talking for 20 minutes. What's going on? They think it's some sort of
a John
avant-garde,
Cage
weird
performance.
Kind of,
Yes.
What was that called? The
4:33, I think.
Yeah. So it's not that. We are actually done. We hope you join us next week.
Yes,
for the next episode of the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
Saying,
keep your face. That's a good trick.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.